Thank you. So greetings everyone from wherever you guys joining us, and welcome to today's webinar called X-Driven Development, ATDD plus BDD with the TDD is a nice blend to try out. So it's a nice combination that can increase the efficiency of the development process and as well as the quality. So today we can experience how these practices works in the real world example. So my name is Kanat and I am the organizer of today's online meetup session. So before we get started, I'd like to go over a few notes on how to participate on today's session. As usual, the duration of this session will be around 1 hour. The speaker will take presenting 40 to 45 minutes, followed by a Q&A session for 15 to 20 minutes. And if you have any questions, please use the raise your hand button. So you would be called in the order that you raise your hand, and we will try to answer as many questions we can. Also, I would like to remind everyone that today's presentation will be recorded, and we will be posting all recordings to our YouTube channel. And for those who couldn't join the call or anyone who wants to rewatch the session and make notes from the presentation slides, you can do it in our YouTube channel. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce today's speaker. Actually, he's joining us today all the way from Sri Lanka. His name is Chamil Jiwanta. Welcome, Chamil. And Chamil is a software architect at Multiplier, and he has a wealth of experience over 13 years in the IT industry. And he's also a leader of the capacity building activities driven by SLASCOM as a general council member and alternative lead of the Capacity Forum and academic consultant, contributing to Industry Academia Consultative Board of many universities and visiting faculties of many local universities in Sri Lanka, and clean code advocate. So I hope I said everything correct. So really excited to have Chamil in today's webinar. And so that without any further ado, Chamil, over to you, my friend.
Right. Thank you, Kenneth. So let me share my screen. Okay. Right. Hope you can see my screen. And okay, so I'm Chamil, as Kenneth mentioned, and I don't know whether I'm pronouncing your name right. It's okay, by the way. So let's start talking about X-driven development. Now, if I go ahead and first of all, actually, first thing for me, what I am going to do with set of quality engineers, and how can I justify myself doing this session? So that was the initial thought for me, and I was trying to justify myself, and this is the justification for me, right? Why I should be here. The first thing is, I believe quality is my responsibility. Even though I'm an architect and you are there are a set of quality engineers who is working with me in my team as well, still quality is my responsibility. Why I'm saying my? Why I'm not telling everyone? Because I believe everyone's responsibility is sometimes no one's responsibility. So that's why I am telling quality is my responsibility. I have to take care of this. The second thing, I believe the right force to drive development process is quality, not anything else. The main pillar, the main drive should be quality. So that's what I believe. And also the other thing, I practice TDDs since almost 10 years, and I'm using it daily. The next thing, I have been developing a couple of test frameworks in 2007, long way back. On top of Test Complete 5.1, I don't know, most of you are aware of that by this time, because there are many frameworks available now, and it's kind of almost 13 years or 14 years now. Actually, this framework was like earlier by Test Complete 4 or 5, it's mostly JavaScript, most JavaScript generated things. So I was trying to develop some kind of Excel-based test framework. And then by 2013, I have been I developed kind of a JBehave based framework, which is supporting behavior driven development. And also since then, I have been closely dealing with the quality engineers in almost all the companies I have been working with, because I'm really passionate about quality engineering. And I believe that that should be something that everyone should follow, whether you are like it should be a culture actually, not only kind of a single person's or team's effort or a team's responsibility like quality engineer's responsibility. Right. If I discuss about today's agenda, I'm going to talk about XDD, what and why, then who are the stakeholders involved in XDD, and common problems, blockers, as well as advantages. Actually, advantages will be covered under XDD why, right? We have advantages, otherwise we won't use. So finally, I am trying to demonstrate, but this demonstration will be mostly limited to the developers aspect. I'm not going to demonstrate what you are already doing better than me, which is writing automated tests for the APIs and so on. Okay. What is X-driven development? That is number one. You may have heard of behavior-driven development, acceptance test-driven development, then test-driven development. So what is X? Now, when it comes to X, it is collection of software development processes that rely on the repetition of very short development cycles. It is not one single development cycle. It is just like collection of development processes. Okay, right. Now, what is X in this? You can replace this X. X-driven development is collection of maybe acceptance test, specification test driven development, behavior-driven development, test-driven development, feature-driven development. Some people are saying that if the cost is taking more control over the project, cost-driven development, then some are saying that date-driven development, then fund-driven development. Whenever you have fund, you develop, otherwise you stop. And whenever something really goes wrong, especially from various aspects like some stakeholders, sometimes the people tends to replace this X with some animal names as well. So these are not the things that we are going to discuss during today's session. We are only discussing about these things. We will be discussing acceptance test, behavior, actually acceptance test-driven development, behavior-driven development, test-driven development, and specification-driven development also there, but I'm not going to cover it. The reason is I know that one of the last sessions you had was regarding that. Okay. So let's try to define this X. What is acceptance-driven development? What is maybe behavior-driven development, and so on. If you look at this, write the acceptance test first and develop until that test passes. That is what acceptance test-driven development is. It's really simple. Write the acceptance test first, then develop until that passes. So your development will be the minimum requirement to satisfy or run past this test. That's all. Okay. So the acceptance test, how to derive it? Typically, the acceptance test, I think I should not mention these things. The reason is you are the experts than me. So acceptance test is something where if it is passed only, the client will be accepting this project as a successful one. Or this criteria is the minimum. You should pass this, otherwise they won't accept this project. Now, acceptance test-driven development, put test automation front and center. This is kind of shift left approach where you get your automation into the beginning and the mid of the project rather than after the development, developing your automation test suites. So this is one thing. The other thing is, this is not a testing technique. Remember, acceptance test is a testing that the responsibilities with the test people, but acceptance test driven development is not a testing technique. It's a development process. Okay, so that is why I am talking about these things. And the next thing, focus on getting the right outcome. Please keep in mind, I'll be coming back to this again, this particular line. Focus on getting the things, getting the right outcome. If you think about then the test-driven development, what is it? The test-driven development is simply as a developer, write the test that fails. I'm writing a small test, write the minimum code to pass that test. Then I'm refactoring and going to the first step. I take another failed test, again develop the code, then again refactor, and again I go and develop another test which is failing. Now I know that you already have this question, or you already expecting me, what is the difference between acceptance test development? Why we should have both? We are going to discuss, that is our topic. Now, let me go into behavior-driven development. It is development process that encourage collaboration among developers, quality assurance testers, and customer representatives. So everyone, it covers almost all the major stakeholders. It tries to encourage the collaboration between all the main stakeholders. Now the question, where is Gherkin? Where is given when then? Without given when then, can we talk about behavior-driven development? Those are the questions. If we think about that part, Gherkin, cucumber, given when then, what is happening here? BDD rethinks the approach of unit and acceptance test. Remember, BDD is directly talking about the collaboration between all the stakeholders. But it further says the result, after you have a lot of discussion, you have working examples, you go through many examples, including QA engineers, including developers, including business representatives, everyone. Now you have come up with set of executable user stories. That is what the outcome of a BDD. That is what the outcome of BDD. So this, what do you mean by executable? That means you are writing your user story in this format. As a user, I want X because of Y. So that is how you are going to write your user story. Then behavior-driven development again says that the acceptance criteria of the story should be written in given when then. So that is how it says that acceptance criteria should be written given initial context, when event occurs, then outcome. Given the account balance is 200, when withdraw 100, then the outcome is an exception telling that minimum amount should be 150 in your account. Minimum balance of your account should be 150. So that is the then part. You have to write it like that. So that is what BDD suggests about acceptance test. Then the next thing, further BDD mentions, if you are writing a unit test. Now remember, acceptance test is something else, unit test is something else. Unit test, when you are writing, the unit test name shouldn't be test method 1, test method 2, test account balance, test. No, it's not the case. The behavior-driven development, they are suggesting you the whole sentence starting with conditional verb like should. That is how they are recommending the unit test names. And always try to represent some business value there. But in unit test, it is not always possible to represent a business value, because some of the units, not everything, some of the units are not purely business driven. It's kind of pure fabrication. Sometimes for the purpose of technical things, we are writing certain kind of special classes. Okay. That is what about BDD. Now, I would say BDD is kind of encouragement that everyone should attend to the business requirement discussions. You have to make sure that you understand the requirement right. Then you derive some kind of test suite, and those are acceptance tests. Then until they passes, the developers will be developing their classes, developers will be developing their code, and they make sure that the acceptance tests are satisfied. Okay. Now I'm asking you another question. Why collection of processes? What do you think? Why we need collection? Why we cannot only survive with ATDD? Why we cannot only survive with SDD, the spec-driven development, right? Or maybe why we need TDD when you are using ATDD? That's the question, right? But I would say, sorry. I would say these demands are different. For an example, ATDD will be covering the business demand. What business people expect from you, from your application. That is purely about the use cases. This user can do this and then and so on. When this happens, this is what that should be. But when it comes to the SDD, or maybe like we would say like sometimes API test driven development, something like that, that will be covering the high level demand of the architecture. So the high level architecture will be driven by these tests. So in order to make it testable, you have to decouple the APIs right. You have to identify the APIs right. Otherwise, you cannot write the test first. So the moment you derive testable APIs, those will become solid APIs which are maintainable as well. So that is the principle behind this API test-driven development or spec-driven development or anything. The next thing, the TDD, test-driven development. It is architectural demand again at the low level. Remember, I'll show you in a quick demo. TDD is not to test. It is not to test whether your code is right. That is a side effect, side benefit that your code is robust or your code is working right. But TDD, the main aspect is it will allow me to decouple whatever I am doing, right? It will guide me towards a loosely coupled, highly maintainable, nicely written, readable, maintainable, extensible code. So that's what the TDD approach. I'm not going to talk about that, but I'm going to demo you what is that really. The next thing, who are going to involve with these approaches? For an example, in the BDD process, business representatives, quality engineers, developers, everyone should get together. That is one of the biggest things. Everyone's collaboration is required. Then when it comes to ATDD or maybe SDD, quality engineers, developers, sometimes SDD also like if you use Karate or something, still they are also giving the chance or inviting business representative also towards this. Then when it comes to TDD, it is purely a developer's perspective. And remember, BDD or ATDD, SDD, anything will not override the importance of test-driven development. Right. The next thing, why we should use it. What are the benefits? If you have driven development, acceptance test-driven development with test-driven development, and maybe API test-driven development, maybe spec-driven development, the combination, you will definitely get all the benefits of various tests. That is number one. Number two, it saves a lot of time. You may worry, like sometimes most of the people, they are complaining when you are writing unit test, it takes a lot of time. If you are in a hurry, you are not going to write unit test. or you are not going to automate test suits because you don't have enough time. So those are the typical complaints. But believe me, with my experience, I'm telling you, we save time from a lot of other efforts. For an example, if you have fully running automated test suite since the day one, debugging will be really easy. I'll tell you one scenario. As a developer, first of all, in a banking system, I'm developing, a withdrawal function. I develop it, I test it. Then I am adding certain validations, maybe 5-6 validations I am adding. Everyone is again and again tested. And while I'm testing, I find one validation breaks. It doesn't work. I go and change the code. And am I running these all possible scenarios again? Like the happy path, I'll be running properly, probably. But all the other paths, like error paths, I won't try all the possible combination because I have to do it manually. So what I'm doing is with my gut feeling, I test, okay, this part I have been doing, that this particular scenario doesn't work. I fix that scenario and go ahead. When it comes to quality people, when it comes to quality assurance phase, when you're running your test, you find some of the other things that you have previously tested. Developer has previously tested, but not now, after the change. Those are broken. That is very common. So those things will be anyway avoided with this approach, because since day one, since before you start development, you have set of tests ready. So that is number one thing. You will be saving plenty of time, which will be spent on debugging. And also remember, if you have to debug one scenario, right? Developers actually, rather than developing every single line of code they're writing, at least they're running their tests for 3-4 times manually. That is the way. We have to run, not working, again run, not working. So every time we are running, we have to set the preconditions. We have to go and clear the database, then again fill some with some dummy values or some other values for that particular scenario. Then make a REST call or something. Or maybe I have to go into the user interface, give the username password, go to that particular page and fill some data according to the requirement and click on the button. So developers spend a lot of time on debugging, dev testing, and they have to do a lot of code changes again and again every time you raise a bug. Everything, every aspect will save the developer's time and also your time, because if the same bug is happening, you report one bug, they fix it, again coming back, another bug is there because of that fix, you again report it. So likewise, it's rather than it is going here and there for a couple of times, if you have a complete test suite by the time they are developing, not by the time they are developing, while development is end, you have the complete automated test suite as well. Remember, these are short cycles. So there is not a must that all the whole test suite has to be there at the beginning. These are short development cycles. You might be developing only 3-4 acceptance tests, or maybe one acceptance test. Developers take it. They will be developing with TDD until that test passes. While they are doing that, you have the chance of writing the other tests. So that's what the benefit, and bug reporting time and a lot of time it's saving. That is what the message from me. Then, if you think about testable code, there is a truth or there is a value I identified with the testability. And I think obvious thing, if it is testable, it is maintainable, it is readable, it is simple, it is extensible. So any testable code, any testable API, it is supporting or it is giving most of the non-functional requirements. For an example, I think as QA quality engineers, mostly we are not testing the maintainability of the code. It's really hard to test, measure. So one of the best measures is how easy to test using automated tests. If your code is really easy to test, then it is really sure that it is highly maintainable, highly readable, simple, and well decoupled code. That's why you will be able to simply test that. The next thing is, if you are using XDD, business visibility is always there. Business knows what are the use cases you have developed, what are the use cases you haven't touched it, what are the past scenarios, user stories, what are things that are not developed, what are the failing things. So everything will be there, and it will be working as a dashboard for you. The next thing, since we are writing the minimum possible code to support your requirement, support or pass the test, we will never over-architect. It's very little chance to over-architect the system, because system is just sufficient to deliver or cater the requirement defined by the test. So these are the benefits we get with X-driven development. Now, in order to get this benefit, what are the things you have to do? Only one thing. That is only simple thing you have to do. What is that? One change. Do the automation upfront. So get together with the business stakeholders, define, go through examples, try to understand the things, and come up with set of behaviors that will be acting like acceptance tests. Then automate it. Maybe you can use some kind of framework like Karate, which doesn't require any coding behind to back your test. Or maybe you can use Cucumber, which is very famous, and with Gherkin, and you will be able to do this. But can you see one word in red, which is change? Can we change? Is it easy to change? Remember the problems, most of the problems or blockers around this is this change. People, I am reluctant to change myself. It's valid truth for every human being. Maybe the animals or the others as well. I don't know. I'm not an expert about that. But for me and you and all the human beings, mostly changes. You are reluctant to change. And also, these kind of things like these are called paradigms. This kind of paradigm is kind of more like spiritual thing. It's really hard to show you the thing, because the reason is the result of what you are doing initially will be coming back to you at a later stage. It's like karma. Have you heard of karma? In maybe I think in Buddhism it's promoted. It's like a very late thing. You do it now, but your results will be coming after, maybe at the end of the project, or maybe at the maintenance stage. You have even delivered to the customer and you get the benefit. So that is the thing. The second thing, since it is more like a spiritual thing, most of the people, its understanding is really low. They are not understanding properly. Then need training, experimentation, visibility, iterative feedbacks, adaptation, everything. These things are must. Without that, you won't do that simple change I mentioned. And you need good communication. You have to properly communicate with business stakeholders. It's really hard. And most of the times we do it at the last stage of our development if you are not following these practices. And there is one place, continuous changes of the goal in the project. So if you start with a banking system and you ended up doing kind of other kind of e-commerce site or something, now there is a problem. It's not easy to use these things. And mostly, more importantly, more time consumes upfront. That is one of the most hardest thing that we have to justify. At the beginning of the project, we are not delivering, but we are discussing, right? So if you are not discussing and you are quickly doing something and showing, which is prototype method, right? Prototyping, it's also a development methodology. If you do it, the people will see something and they ask something to change. You change it, again show it, that is also fine. If your requirement is not that clear, it's totally unclear, I would suggest go for that prototyping. But as soon as possible, please come back to the track of X-driven development. So these are the common problems, blockers I can present to you. Okay, now I'm going to do a kind of demonstration. In this case, I'll show you how to develop a simple banking system, which is like withdrawal, maybe like we can withdraw, we can open an account, we can deposit and those things. So first of all, I'm not going to show you how to write these tests and all. Let me simply write these things. Okay, now first of all, for my banking system, can someone, you all can suggest me through the chat. Please open up yourself. What are the user stories? Shall we write it quickly on the chat?
Sure, we can do that.
Yep, good. Please go ahead. Right, open an account. So I'll write it like as a user or a customer, I want to open an account. Then as a customer, I want to what? Deposit money to something like this. Right. I should be able to withdraw money. Good. Then, shall we try to write it in mostly like a BDD approach, like the standard user story approach? And shall we write some of the acceptance tests here? I want to open an account. What is the acceptance criteria? You have to use given, when, then, maybe and so on. Shall we try to write? So given right, user navigates this.com, when enter the password, username password, okay, then show the dashboard. Okay, so then there will be another acceptance criteria given user navigates xxx.com. Oh, I have changed it a little bit. xyz.com, let's say. Given user navigates to something xyz.com, okay. Right. Okay, I'm getting a lot of things. Likewise, I have to define these things. So this thing xyz.com, when enter wrong password, then show the error message. So that is what the given when then acceptance criteria. So you can define that. And also you will be able to use some kind of a Cucumber or Karate or kind of a framework. And I'm using Postman here just to show you. This is kind of post account. I'm going to create account for this number. And this is the name. This is the initial amount. This is API level test. And I'm going to this test. And I'm defining a test like status code should be 200, right? That is my first test. But if you use Cucumber or something, definitely you will be able to write it in a more meaningful manner like this. I'll show you one Karate example here. Do I have it? Okay, just go to Karate website and see. There are a lot of examples how to write tests there. Right. So let me show you the next step. Now, this is one of the examples. Scenario, create and retriever cat. Given URL is this and request name colon Billy. When method is post, then status 201 and match response ID is not null and name is Billy. So the moment you write this thing, it will be automatically calling your API. So I am going to show you quickly how to write this particular open method. So I'm going to first of all create a unit test, not anything else. So I have a controller class here. Which is something like this. What I want is account service dot open account with these 3 parameters. So how to write it? So first of all, I'm going here and create a new test class. The test class is account service test. Okay. Now I'm going to do unit test. It's not any other thing because you will be able to cover the behavior driven test and all these things since you are familiar with that and you are the experts than me. Let me show you quickly how to write this test. So this is a account service test. And I would say at right. So I'm simply telling test should create an account should save a new account when correct details are given. So that is what my first test. So I would say the correct account is something like this. Account equals account service dot create, right? What are the inputs? I would say name, some kind of a name and the initial amount and maybe the address, right? So ID, not ID. What was that? Name, initial amount, address. Those are the requirements. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to create local variables like this, string and double initial amount, string address. Okay, name is something like this, and initial amount is 1000, and the address is something like this. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is create a local variable called account service new account service IMPL, right? So actually I have some of the services written, that's why it is feeling like this. Oops. So let me change these names a little. Okay, this is not my first test, right? I have account service, then account service dot create, or I would say open account for these guys, and assert that account dot get name. Oops. Okay, let's say account X for the moment. That is bad, but since I am having already an account class there, account dot get name is name. So this is the first test. Then assert that account dot initial amount is what? Initial amount, and assert that account dot address is address. So this is what my failing test. You can see even that classes are not there. I have written my first test. Okay. So what should I do now? The next thing, right click, create class. Again, sorry. Open account, I am creating a class like this, right? Then account X, it's not available. I'm creating a class home.chamil. It's created there. And get name, it is not there. So I'm creating a method, right? Get initial amount. Okay, written. Now this one says, okay, account service. What does it say? Okay, required type account X. So if you go to this one, that is fine. All good, good. This is also good. Now there is a compiling test because the code has been automatically generated, right? Actually, I have used my time, which I am writing this basic structure. I used it here. So what I'm doing is I'm simply calling this entire test, right? Now I'm simply running it. Okay, it's failing. That is the first step. As the next step, what I'm doing is until it passes, I'm doing my job. So the simplest thing I have to do is here, go to account service IMPL, create new account, right? And I have to pass these values, name, comma, initial amount, comma, address. In order to do this, I have to create a new constructor. So create constructor, it is getting created. Not only that, I have to assign the things. So I'm simply removing it, creating a constructor with all three parameters. Private string name, private double initial amount, private string address. Okay, so I'm removing all these things for the moment. create constructor with all three, and maybe I can use Lombok like thing, or else I can create getters and setters. So this is how the test driven development works. So if I run this test again, it passes, right? That is the first thing. Actually, we are running out of time. Because of that, I'll quickly show you what kind of a test I have to write like this in a different case. So these are the tests I have written. For an example, should throw exception when transferring money from, that is a lot of things. Should throw exception when insufficient initial balance to create an account. So I have notifiable, which means that I want to notify through SMS or something. To make it easier, I have created notifiable interface, which is having one method called notify, the notification type, and the relevant context you have to pass, and that's all. So what I have done is I have just mocked that method here. Do return false when store is exist account number. So the first test I am doing here is, if the account store, now the account service should call account store. That account store, if it is already existing, I am returning false, that I instruct that mock. And account service, right? It needs store as well as notifiable. These are two things I am passing to mocks, and I'm expecting insufficient balance, insufficient initial amount exception when you call this service.open account with initial amount 850. Okay. So I'm asserting whether this message is this. Okay. So this is a unit test. That is why I have notifiable mock. The notifiable is maybe an SMS sender, maybe an email sender. But I don't care. What I want is, I make sure my service will be calling that notifiable, and that's all. So if you go to the code, you can see there is no code available about sending email or SMS or anything. Can you see anything? No, right? Even here, just send notify. Now my code is capable of sending emails, SMSs, everything. The reason is I was using proper unit tests. And remember, this class can be easily tested like this. The test time is less than 1 second. So if I run the entire unit test suite for my company's, the code we have written for certain the repositories, almost 1000 unit tests, it will be running within a fraction of a second, more than 1000. So that's the beauty of unit testing. And if you are using test-driven development, that is how you can achieve most of things. I think the time is running out. Because of that, I'm stopping by now. And thank you. It's time for you to ask any questions.
Thanks, Shamil. That was very informative. So now is the time for Q&A session, guys. So if you guys have any questions, please go ahead. We don't have any questions? Okay. I think we don't have any questions, Shamil. So if you have like something to finish, I mean, you have something to demonstrate again, so you can finish it up. Maybe we'll
I think it's better if I can show you these things.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go through one of the things here we have done. the unit test suite I have written. For an example, my first requirement is should throw exception when transferring money from an account with insufficient balance. Someone is trying to transfer money from an account to another account, but it doesn't have enough balance. So that is the case I'm going to test. So what I'm doing is I need a notifiable, which is a mock of notifying, and to account the two account number. Account number is 12345. From this account, amount is 200. So I'm creating the from account object. From account, and the account number is there, and the current amount is 150. Now remember, you are going to transfer 200, but the from account only have amount 150. Then I'm telling our account store, the user service is depending on an account store. User service doesn't know how to store it. I have actually used this part just because I wanted to make sure my account, my store is totally decoupled, and I wanted to make it really easy. I didn't want to integrate some kind of a H2O kind of a database here and real database. The reason is the moment I engage with the real database, my unit test suite gets slower. That means slow unit test suite means nobody will start running it again and again. So that's the case. So that's why I'm using always mocks in my unit test. Remember, in TDD or the unit test level, we are using mocks, but at the real level, maybe in the ATD level or the BDD level, we are not using mocks. We are using real databases and do this acceptance test running. But it will take time. It will be running maybe overnight, and it might be sometimes running little longer. So making it not running longer and making it nicely decoupled, that's up to you. That is what increasing the testability. Now here I have increased the testability by just decoupling this store. If you go to my class, the account store, the account service, you can see store is injected, notifiable is injected, and just I don't care what is the store. I'm simply asking store to get account. If you go to this store, account store, it's simply two methods. Again, it is not coupled to any database. It's an interface. This is called contract-driven approach. Always we are using a contract, and the contract has one method implementation, maybe many. One implementation is in-memory account store, right? It has two methods. The other one is the real database implementation. I haven't written, but my code is running, my unit tests are running, and I can make sure, I'm really sure this one is really good. It's working properly. Okay. So if you don't have any questions, let me summarize the thing, what I have talked with you. The first thing, we are writing acceptance tests typically. What are the acceptance tests? We write, okay, whenever this user comes in, this user as a user, I should be able to do this and so on. Now we are automating that part, especially at the API level. With my experience, I think for me, API level automation is solid. The reason is APIs are not changing that much. It's kind of very steady compared to UIs. So I most of time start with the API level. I write some of the API tests. Then until those tests passes, I'm writing code like this, right? Now, if somebody asks a question like this, why I cannot just survive with the open test written in API level? Why I should write unit test? The reason is the unit tests guide me to write a code like this, which is totally decoupled. If it is without unit test, you will be writing a big code which is lengthy. Even as a person, as a user, what we'll be doing as a developer, I can do one thing. I'm just getting the count here. The database logic is written here in the withdraw, right? I'm writing the DB logic. Then I'm writing what? Withdraw logic. Then I am writing sending SMS. Then I am adding another if else, right? If the preference of the user, notification preference is what? Can you suggest me? Email, SMS? If it is the case, I am adding a if else and telling that if it is email, I am writing SMTP logic also here, right? Now this code will get like this all the time. It will never happen if you are using unit test or test-driven development approach. The reason is now, first of all, you are writing it like this, the code, and you try to write the unit test. Think about that approach without using the test-driven mode. You are writing a test after this. Now you will end up not being able to write the unit test because you need even an SMTP server, which is sending email. Then if you had an if else statement, then you may need some kind of a SMTP server, which will be receiving your SMS as well. Now, in order to work your unit test, after writing the code, if you try to write the unit test like this, you need a database, you need SMS gateway, you need that email server, SMTP server, everything. If you don't have all these things, definitely you won't be able to do that unit test. But if I am writing my code, now I know that if I write everything in my single unit test, I'll be ended up not writing the unit test first. It will take a whole lot of time and unit test will be lengthy. Now, what will I do is, I'll be thinking how to decouple the things. Okay, this is too much. I have to decouple. What is my focus? My focus is withdraw. I am using set of interfaces or contract to isolate the withdraw from all these things, right? Then I will take another interface to decouple SMTP, another interface to decouple SMTP. Because of the easiness, just to make my test easier, I'm decoupling everything with what? Decoupling everything with the interface. And I'm just writing this logic. That is what I have done here. You can see notifiables totally isolated, account store totally isolated, and those are mocked. Everything is running on a mock. Finally, I am testing the outcomes based on the mock values. Right? My tests are very small. It's easy to write and it doesn't take more than 3 minutes to write this kind of a test. Okay. I'll quickly show you how can I run my unit test suite here. So this is one of the projects. If I run my unit test suite like this, okay, initiating. Okay, project is loading, that's why it's take this much of time. Okay, run. That's all. If I do any change, you can see 551 unit tests. I'm running it again. After doing a change, if I run it, it's really fast. So make sure unit tests don't blot with many databases or even in-memory databases. This should be running like this. It is done. 551 tests. So more tests, more frequent tests right? It will give you a very good benefit of robust and testable, maintainable code. Okay, so that's from me. And I think if you have any further question, you can talk to me. Also, I'm going to share this, my email address. You can reach me if you have any doubt, any clarification. Thank you.
Amazing presentation. Thank you, Chamil.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank you, Chairman.
expertise and the combination practices that you showed us. I think we have one of the reasons that we didn't have a question at the beginning, that we wanted to try it out ourselves, but we'll be having more questions for sure. And I know it's almost midnight in Sri Lanka, and I really want to give you huge thanks for putting this time and efforts to share your expertise with us, you know. And
Sure.
thank you so much.